Unsell Episode 5 High School Antics, a Sonic the Hedgehog OC and non-canon alternate universe fanfic. Warning: before we get into today's fanfic reading, this fanfic episode has discrimination, disrespect, bullying, and physical conflict and violence. I do not condone these kind of acts. I accept people for who they are, no matter if they are gay, lesbian, trans, cross-dressers, and more. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect, equally in acceptance, depending on who they are, as long as they aren't an extremely bad individual. Viewer discretion is advised. It's been 5 years now, and Fantasee the Hedgehog is in the 12th grade at Mobius High School. Mobius is never. 8. Yeah, let's just go with it. Mobius High School. She is also 18 years old at this age, and the school year is about to end in 2 months at the end of May, and spring break is almost arriving soon on Saturday of the last week of March, as it's March 29th on Thursday. Fantasy was just getting to school after getting off the school bus to see her friends Hazel and Tony waiting for her inside in the hall next to the swimming pool. They then walked and talked as they went up the stairs from where everyone is going to. They passed the cafeteria from where some students are getting breakfast in the morning and heading towards their lockers they have next to each other. When they turned the corner hallway in the common area, and they saw that their cross-dressing boyfriend Lavi the fox getting bullied by her ex-girlfriend and by his ex-girlfriend and her friends. Oh no, not again. I thought Gala left him alone after having a talk with the guidance counselor after her getting reported by him from her constant bullying and all. Shall I go there and knock Gala's teeth out or beak off? Tony said as she is mad and annoyed at Gala the Eagle and her friends wanting to beat all 3 of them up. Fantasy then replied to Tony with her feeling mad and anxious, then said, "No, let's not do that at all. Tony, we don't want you getting suspended or worse, expelled from school when graduation is just almost around the corner. I'm feeling very mad, annoyed, and anxious too, but we need to find a peaceful way to help our beautiful friend out without anyone getting hurt or fighting one another." After a few seconds of figuring out what to do and say, Fantasy then took a few deep breaths and walked over to confront Gala and her friends as calmly as possible. She does know how stubborn she is too sometimes too, but she still wants to try and convince her to leave him alone. As Fantasy is making her way to Gala and her friends, Gala then said to Lavi while making fun of him and laughing at him with her friends, "Where did you get those clothes, huh? At the sissy shop of freaks, weirdo? Or better yet, did you steal the makeup that you're wearing from your sister or mom?" Ha 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 ha. While Gala and her friends are laughing at Lavi for dressing as a girl or woman, Fantasy then tapped Gala on her right shoulder 3 times behind her to get her attention. Gala then looked behind her to see Fantasy and her friends, then turn around to do the same as well too. "Well, well, well, look who it is, girls. It's Sally Acorn's little baby that she adopted when Fantasy was a little alien that came from outer space. Ha 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 ha!" Say what you want, Gala. I'm just here to help a friend out from getting bullied by his ex and her friends, along with trying to get everyone to go their own ways peacefully without conflict of any kind, Fantasy said as Gala and her friends are laughing. Gala didn't calm down a bit to talk to Fantasy and said to her before walking to her class along with her friends, "Aww, sounds like little Fantasy wants everyone to get along by singing and prancing around Disney songs like we are in a Smurfs TV show. To be honest, you may sound like an alien, but you could look like one of those ugly and lame Sonic EXE creepypasta characters, as if you came out of it." As Gala and her friends walked away and around Fantasy into the direction that Hazel and Tony are staying on the corner, passing them both, Fantasy stood there frozen for 3 seconds, then looked back at Gala and her friends as they turned the corner after she said that. However, she has this weird feeling as if she is connected to this name, Sonic EXE. "Fantasy, are you alright? You look like you were shocked and frozen right there," Hazel said as both her and Tony came rushing to her aid as Fantasy snapped out of it and said, "Yeah, I'm okay. I just got shocked there for a second when she mentioned something, but I'll tell you both later. Right now, let's go and comfort Lavi. He needs it the most." As both three friends walked over to Lavi to comfort him, the friend saw that it looks like he was about ready to cry when Tony asked him, "You don't have to worry about those bigots, bud. They have walked away and Fantasy took care of it for you. Are you doing alright?" Laffy then replied to Tony and her friends in a weak, anxious, and scared voice, "Yeah, I'm doing alright, but they wouldn't leave me alone." "Would you like a hug from all three of us? All together, Laffy?" "Yes, please, Hazel." The four friends then hugged each other and reassured Laffy that they have his side no matter what and will protect them the best they can. Before the friends went to their first period class, says by going their separate directions, they then also decided to go tell the guidance counselor to get Gala expelled for her constant bullying towards Laffy, since this is the last straw for Gala when she has been given many chances by the principal. Later on in the day at school, the bell has rung for second period to start, and both Fantasy and Laffy are in the same math class together, sitting a few feet from each other. Laffy doesn't like to be up front or in the middle, since she likes to see the whole classroom in the back corner facing from the teacher's desk on the left side and learn from there, while Fantasy sits somewhere in the middle. While their main room and math teacher, Mrs. Marine, is teaching the whole class math, Fantasy couldn't get the fact that she feels connected to the name EXE in a way, but she doesn't know if she's 100% connected to Sonic EXE. She remembers that the church priest and scientist confirmed that one part of her DNA is a demon's DNA of a EXE, but they aren't sure who, though, since Fantasy came from another universe when she was a baby, when her Aunt Sally's guards had found her in a crashed pod 18 years ago when she was extremely young. Fantasy also took a look back to her left at the back of the classroom to check on Laffy from a distance to see how he's doing. Laffy looks like he is starting to calm and cool down, as some of his and Fantasy's friends are texting him and the support and love he needs from Gala's bullying. Fantasy then also began to smile a bit, since she's happy to see her friend feeling a bit better. A few minutes later, when the bell is about to ring soon for her friends in Lavi's lunch period block to begin, when Fantasy was just texting her friends and looking at what people posted on Instamobian, Fantasee then looked up from her phone to see that Lavi was about to cry again from something offensive and shocking that he saw on his phone from his timeline on Instamobian. While Fantasee is hugging Lavi with one hand wrapped around him with her arm, in the air, looking at her timeline to find out that Gela said something very extremely offensive and uncalled for about Lavi that's not true at all. Gala the Eagle posted on her Instamobian about how Lavi is nothing but a tramp, an attention-seeker, and a low-life scumbag cheat in her description about, along with fake pictures of Lavi flirting and committing mature stuff with her men while in the relationship. The Photoshop logo on each corner of the pictures that she forgot to took off to make it look legit when. And Fantasee knows Lavi extremely well as a friend and wouldn't do any of that at all. Fantasee did hear some people snicker and laugh quietly at the post about Lavi in the classroom while some others comforted him. Fantasee then became extremely angry and furious at Gala from the post that she made and texted her directly in DMs saying, "Meet me in the cafeteria so that me and you only can have a talk about the post when the bell rings. One-on-one talk." Gala then saw the text and DMs as the bell just rings. Some of the students saw Fantasee angry, and they have this feeling that it's not gonna go well between Gala and Fantasee. As everyone is heading out of their classrooms, heading to their next period or to the cafeteria for lunchtime, Fantasee then patiently walked through the crowded hallways to the cafeteria while trying to hold back her anger. She has a feeling that the school wouldn't expel her since Gala's rich stepdad is supplying and donating money to the school since her stepdad made a contract deal with them. The deal is that as long as Gala the Eagle is attending their high school, her stepfather will keep helping the school out the best that they can since the school had issues a very extremely long time ago with getting supplies and all for after school events and many more. One of the bad things that Gala has done that should have expelled her for a very long time ago. Sorry. One of the bad things that Gala has done that should have expelled her a very long time ago, but has been given chance after chance after chance, no matter what it is that she one time put a beehive in Hazel's locker, and another time have her friends force Tony's mouth open to pour chili ghost pepper sauce in her throat, which caused her to go to the hospital, and her stepdad bribed the police department to not get involved with arresting her. Another thing is that Gala even destroyed the vice principal's daughter's school supplies from her backpack, and they didn't want to expel Gala, and so they sent her daughter to another kindergarten for her safety, even though she really loved how nice the teacher is there, along with having friends that she just got comfortable making friends with. The kindergarten is across the street from the high school when the incident happened. As both Gala and Fantasee met in the middle of the cafeteria along with their friends sitting on the side and planning on jumping in just in case things got out of hand for the conversation. "Gala, what is your issue, lady? Why are you acting like a complete jerk to me, my friends, and everyone else?" As Fantasee said in an angry and furious voice that the whole cafeteria can hear her. Gala then replied to Fantasee with an evil smirk on her face, thinking she is gonna get away with it. "Aww, is little Fantasee gonna cry about me being me since I can treat anyone however I want, or is she gonna go run home crying to her auntie that she was adopted by since her original parents probably abandoned and left her for dead? Is that it?" Gala and a few other students in the crowd then started laughing. Fantasy then got really offended by this, since all she knows is that she isn't from the same universe, since she was transported to where she is now from when she was a toddler. I mean, it's true about him after all, what I said on my Instamobian. He's not like that at all. He would never do that, and since we have been friends for years now, since we met in 6th grade, he's not like that at all, and he would never rather be with someone that treats him for who he is. He doesn't like being treated as an object. After Fantasy told Gala that, Gala decided to ignore the facts and just to continue insulting Fantasy and Lavi. At least I'm not a tramp like your little boy toy Lavi is. Heck, I bet Princess Sally Acorn, aka your aunt, is one too, since she can't stay in a romantic relationship with her blue blur for 3 years or so with any man or woman. My guess is that you're one too, Fantasy. Fantasy then got really mad and offended more by what she said for disrespecting her aunt like that. She was thinking about knocking her lights out too, but without logical and calm thinking, she decided to go too far too and hit home as well. At least I didn't have a abusive drunk of a father growing up that treated me and everyone around me like trash and garbage. The crowd then went crazy by saying, "Oh," and Gala has seemed to stop laughing and turned around with an extremely serious and angry look on her face, staring daggers into Fantasy's eyes as if she is going to kill her soon after saying something like that. What did you just say? You heard me, Gala. This is why you're acting like this way. You bully others and bring them down in order to fill the dark void inside of you, along with trying to up your own self-esteem and confidence too, which is very sad and messed up of you when you can't find any other way to up them without bullying or picking on others. Plus, what you said about my best friend Lavi makes you sound like nothing but a complete transphobe. The crowd then reacted to that by saying "oh" quietly and whispering to each other. Gala then got violent and put up her fists and threw the first punch after saying, "Oh, you're so very dead meat, Hedgehog." Fantasy then was able to dodge a few blows from her, but Gala managed to land a few good hits on her along with giving her a black eye. They then continued fighting from the cafeteria into the top floor of the main gymnasium through the doors. Fantasy did also threw a few good punches back at her too, but not enough to damage her that much. This continued for around 10 minutes later that Fantasy found a way for her to stop throwing so many punches her way, since she needs a little break and for Gala to bring down her defense in order for her to back off and give up too. Fantasy then picked up a nearby plastic chair from behind the bleachers and swing the back of it to her incoming white right fist. As she made sure she didn't put much force into it to completely destroy her hand, and so she held back since she knows how really strong she is. The back of the chair and Gala's fists impacted as Gala hit it almost hard enough to break through it, but instead it broke her right wrist. "Ah! That hurt, you little freak show!" As Gala staggered back a little bit, Fantasy then came in and punched her in the face, and resulting in giving Gala a black eye on her right eye too. This made her staggered back more, and now they are 15 feet away from each other. As both Fantasy and Gala are taking a breather from fighting each other for a moment, Fantasy then put the chair back down and leaned her left arm and hand out on the closed bleacher from one end, stretching out from it while her right hand is on her hip. Gala is also leaning on the closed bleacher with her right arm from one end too. As they both stare directly at each other in anger and fury, as they are taking deep breaths while sweating and blood come out of their mouths, and notice for a few more seconds, Galadin got back in her fighting stance, and so did Fantasee. Galadin spoke up and said this threatening sentence to her. You are not getting out of this gym alive. You are leaving in a coffin! Bring it, you low-down scumbag! As both then ran charging at each other, both of them were stopped by the vice principal and was brought to the detention block to stay there for a while until their parents picked them up and have a talk with the vice principal. But both of the girls would be put in separate detention rooms, since there is 3 to 4 of the detention rooms. They then will also be watched by one of the school security guards too. When Fantasy's aunt Sally picked her up from detention in high school a little later on, her auntie was not very happy with her at all.